3, 2, 1, and go.
Hello, my name is Carla. Welcome to yoga. Today we are going to be doing a balancing sequence. So we're going to start off with a warm-up and then do some standing balancing poses, and then finish off with some deeper stretches and relaxation. So right now we're going to start in a seated position, whatever feels comfortable for you here. And we're going to just draw attention to our bodies and making sure that our posture is good and that we are drawing up from the crown of our head to rise ourselves up. And we're going to start by rotating our neck, so just doing some neck circles. So just picking a direction and start moving the neck around, just loosening up the joints, starting to warm things up. Just slow, controlled movements here. You can reverse the direction, going the opposite way. Alright, and bringing our head to a stillness, looking forward again. And we can bring our hands out to our sides and then do some circles with our hands. So loosening up the shoulder joints here. Starting in one direction and then reversing, going the opposite direction. Lowering the hands back down to the mat. And here we're going to do some side bends. So starting with the right hand, we're going to raise that up to the sky. And as you exhale, leaning over to the left side. Inhale, back up. And exhaling, rotate your wrists on the way back down. And on the other side, inhaling the left arm up. Exhaling, leaning over to the side. Inhaling back up and rotating the wrist down. One more time on either side. So inhaling the right arm up. Exhaling, leaning over. Inhaling back up. Rotating the wrist down. And inhaling the right side up, arm up. Exhaling over. Inhaling back up. And rotating the wrist down. All right, and now we're going to place our hands on our knees. And we're going to do some torso rotations. So just making some circles. And reversing the direction, going the opposite way. And bringing yourself back to center. And here I'm just going to rotate so you can see me. We're going to bring our feet out in front of us with the soles of our feet still on the mat and our knees bent. And just placing our hands behind us. And here we're going to do a windshield wiper with our knees. So just rocking the knees back and forth. And bringing that to stillness and extending the legs out in front of you. And bringing your arms to your side here, making sure you still maintain that straight posture. And then we're going to flex our feet so the toes are pointed up or even towards you. And then extending the toes, pointing the toes out. And then just going through that a couple of times at your own pace with flexing and pointing. You can do some ankle rotations here, taking the direction and doing some circles. And reversing that direction. And bringing our feet to a stillness. Now we're going to draw our knees up to our chest and wrapping our hands around our legs and lifting our feet off the ground. So we're leaning back. And you can take this a little bit further and kind of draw yourself back away from the knees that you're holding on to. You can feel a little bit of a stretch in between your shoulder blades. And then coming up to meet your knees again. Here we can cross our ankles. And then just kind of rolling forward, coming up onto our hands and knees into a tabletop position. Alright, so from here we're going to do some cat-cow. So starting with cow, we're going to drop the stomach down and lift the head as we inhale. Then exhaling, tilt the pelvis forward, round the spine up and drop the head. This is cat. And inhaling, tilting the pelvis, dropping the stomach, and lifting the head into cow. You can move through these at your own pace, following the breath. Inhale to cow, exhale to cat. The next time you find yourself in cow pose, you can just straighten out your spine and come back to a flat back again. And here we're going to do some hip rotations, so picking a direction and doing some circles with your hips here. Reversing that direction, going the opposite way. And then bring yourself to a stillness in the center again. And I want you to tuck your toes underneath your feet. And then grounding into your hands, laying the fingers wide. And we're going to lift up our knees and come into a downward facing dog. So you're going to raise your hips up to the sky and come into this triangle shape with your mat. And if you want to walk the dog here, you can pedal your feet out. And then you can start walking forward towards your hands, keeping your knees bent here. Walking your feet up to the front of the mat and just kind of hanging here in a forward fold. Taking another breath here. And then you can slowly start coming up with your knees bent, just rolling your spine up at the head, the last to come up. All right. So from here, we're going to come into mountain pose. So this is just a balancing alignment pose here. So we're going to just start rocking back and forth on our feet a little bit, just ever so slightly, and then side to side. And what we're trying to do is finding that center point of balance where you feel even pressure on both the heel of your feet and the ball of your feet, and from side to side. And once you find that center point, you can hold yourself in stillness there. And then just checking that your ankles are below the knees are below the hips. Rounding the shoulders back and dropping them. And then elongating your spine, lifting up through the crown of your head so that your ears are above your shoulders, above your hips. So there's this alignment going through your body here. And once we're in this pose, we're going to take a few breaths coming up as we inhale, raising our hands and lifting up onto our tippy toes. Exhaling back down. Again, inhaling our arms up, coming up onto our tippy toes, holding the breath at the top. Exhaling back down. And then this last time, as we come up, raising our hands up onto our tippy toes, we're going to hold this a little bit longer. So continue to breathe. Do a few breaths here. And exhale back down. And for the rest of these poses as well, we're going to hold those poses a little bit longer. We're going to come into chair pose. So this, finding mountain again, finding that center point, grounding your feet into the mat. And we're going to hinge back at our hips, making sure that our knees are not going over our toes here, hinging back like we're sitting back into an imaginary chair behind us. And lifting yourself up, shaking it out. And we're going to start with our first one leg balance pose here. So coming into tree pose. So you're going to ground into the right foot into the mat, putting the weight there, and then lifting the left foot, rotating it outwards, and drawing your foot to either the ankle, the shin, or the upper thigh, avoiding putting direct pressure on the knee. Whenever you find that spot that's comfortable for you, Your hands can either go on your hips, in prayer, upward worship, whatever feels right for you there. And if you happen to come out of the pose, lose your balance, you can just kickstand your foot on the ground and then come back into your pose. And releasing that, shaking the legs out if you need to. And on the opposite side, we're going to ground into the left foot, putting our weight on the left foot and lifting our right foot, rotating it outwards, and either, again, the ankles, the shin, or the upper thigh. Releasing that leg, shaking it out. And now we're going to do a figure four, which is a combination of the two poses we just did, so the chair and the tree combined together. So for this one, we're going to ground into the left foot, putting our weight on the left side, lifting our right foot, and this time, instead of coming up to the side of the leg, we're going to draw our ankle all the way up to over the top of the right knee. And then we're going to sit down as if we were sitting in that imaginary chair, hinging at our hips. And another variation of this, if you want to just kind of kick your foot out in front of you and do a one-legged chair. And release that leg, come back up, shake it out. And on the opposite side, grounding into the right foot, putting our weight on the right side and lifting our left foot, rotating it out the ankle all the way up on top of the right knee. Left knee, sorry. And then again, hinging back at the hips, sitting into the chair. Lifting yourself up, lowering the leg, shaking it out. All right, we're going to do just a couple more standing poses here. So grounding into the right leg, lifting the left knee all the way up to our chest and grabbing below the knee and drawing it into your center of your body. Maintaining that tall spine. If at any point you need to go back into mountain pose, just take a rest. You can absolutely do that. Lowering that leg down, shaking it out. And on the other side, lifting the other knee up to your chest. Just holding on to your leg below the knee. Releasing that leg down, shaking it out. And this last one we're going to do is a bit of a balancing and a spinal twist. So putting the weight into the right leg, lifting the left knee in a 90-degree angle from the floor, and then drawing the right hand over to the left knee, and then drawing the left hand back out behind you and looking towards that left hand. Lowering that back down, shaking out your legs. And then putting the weight into the left leg, lifting the right knee at that 90 degrees, rotating the opposite arm comes over that knee, the right arm goes out behind you, looking over the right arm. Alright, turning back forward, lowering that leg, and shaking it out. And now, again, I'm just going to rotate so you can see me. We're going to inhale our hands up to the sky, and then swan dive forward into a forward fold. Take a couple breaths here.
And then placing your hands on the mat in front of you. Let's step ourselves all the way back into a plank.
And go ahead and lower the knees, untuck the toes, and lower yourself all the way down to the mat. Placing the hands on either side of your chest, taking a breath on the mat, inhaling, and then exhaling, push yourself up into a high cobra. Feeling that stretch in the lower back. And bringing yourself back down again. And one more time, pushing ourselves up into a high cobra. And bringing ourselves back down to the mat. And this time we're going to come up on our hands and knees and then draw ourselves back to where we're sitting on our heels, our hands extended out in front of us, and our forehead comes to the mat into the shadow. And from here, we'll lift ourselves back up onto our hands and knees. And then coming into a seated position. We're going to extend our legs wide out in front of us so that they're open. And we're going to walk our hands forward, hinging at our hips. However far feels comfortable for you. Walk our hands over to the left leg, turning to where we're falling over our head, touching the left knee if we're able to. Walking our hands back to center. And then keep going, walking all the way over to the right leg. And again, walking our hands back to the center. And slowly walking back to where you're sitting up in a straight position. And bring your knees, legs together. And we're going to do a spinal twist here, so lifting the right leg, the right ankle over the left knee. And then wrapping the opposite hand over the bent knee, placing the other hand behind you, and turning to look over the right shoulder. Turning your face back to the front, releasing that knee. And on the opposite side, we're going to take the left ankle over the right knee. And taking our right hand over that bent knee, placing the left hand behind us and looking over the left shoulder. Turning your face forward again, releasing that knee. I'm going to do one more forward fold here, so raising your hands up to the sky. And then as you exhale, hinge at the hips, folding over the legs. Just letting gravity just kind of draw you down here. With every inhale and exhale, see if your breath is able to take you a little bit deeper into the chest. to roll ourselves back up and start rolling the spine. And then continuing all the way until we're rolling all the way onto our backs. Now I invite you to draw your knees up to your chest, hugging those knees, rocking side to side if that feels good for you. Just letting the lower back settle into that. And slowly dropping those feet. The soles of the feet are on the mat, and the knees are bent. And now we're going to lift the right leg and rotate it to where the right ankle is over the top of the left knee. And then putting your hands through that opening and grabbing below the inside of the left knee and drawing that towards your chest. Lowering the left leg, releasing the right foot. And the same thing on the other side. We're going to lift the left leg, ankle goes over the right knee. And then putting your hands through the leg and grabbing below the inside of the knee, and drawing that towards your chest. Lowering the right leg, releasing the left leg. Your knees still bent. We're going to do a spinal twist here. So having your hands out in a T-shaped position, and then having your ankles and knees together. We're going to drop the knees over to the left side and look over the right hand. Again, on the other side, dropping the legs to the right and looking over towards your left hand. Drawing yourself back to center. And bring your hands in beside your body again. And this time we're going to drop our knees out to either side where our soles are touching each other and we're extending our knees out into a butterfly. Just letting gravity drawing those knees down to the mat. Hard out as you feel comfortable. If you want to place a hand on your belly and focusing on your breath, noticing when you inhale, the belly rises, and you exhale, it lowers. Just drawing your awareness to that. Inhale and exhale. And drop into a comfortable position. About hip width apart. And your feet drop to either side. Your arms by your side, palms facing up. If you need to make any adjustments to your body at this point, make sure that you're in a comfortable position. And here we're going to take 5 slow, deep breaths. Finish with those 5 breaths and start wiggling your fingers and toes. Taking a nice stretch, raising your hands above your head. That feels good for you. It's a full body stretch. And then rotating on one side. Slowly pushing yourself back up into a seated position. Thank you so much for coming to my class today. I appreciate you joining me. Nice for down your legs over there.